this, we are end up with one more wonderful session of the second day of this 3-day international virtual conference on teaching, learning, and education. And with Monica ma'am, it was just out of the world, and it was wonderful. And well, now is the
And
time
Vishal,
for
I
the.
must say like every wonderful meal, we have a very sweet dessert. It's just like after a very long and enriching day, we have Monica ma'am with us.
We have
Indeed.
another sweet friend of ours joining us. She's the next chair. So you can please
Right.
introduce, ma'am.
Rightly said, ma'am. So now is the time for the last and the final additional slot for today's second day. And yes, I'm going to invite on the screen Dr. Suchitra Vishisht ma'am. Dr. Suchitra Vishisht ma'am is working as Associate Professor in the Department of English, FMEH at Manav Rachna International Institute of Research and Studies. Uh, she has been awarded by various institutions, various organizations for her wonderful and phenomenal work. She has presented various papers in various journals, and she has been called and invited as a resource person in various international and national conferences. Welcome here, ma'am, and we are very fortunate to have you here, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ravindra. Good evening, everyone. This is the chairperson of your next technical session, Dr. Suchitra Vashisht. Now, teaching, technology, and education. It is also related and diverse in interpretation, unique to all of us. While technology boosts vocational aspects and education, it makes the teacher task easier with similar theories. Let's welcome our first presenter, Dr. Shalini Sharma, Associate Professor in English, GWC Parade, Jammu, on the topic Technology for Teachers, a Boom. I welcome Dr. Shalini Sharma. Yes, I think she's
She's there, ma'am.
okay.
Dr. Shalini, please
Shalini,
unmute
ma'am, please
yourself.
unmute yourself. Shalini, ma'am, please unmute yourself.
Ma'am, I think there's some technical, we'll wait for her.
Or should we call the next participant, ma'am?
Yes,
Or
ma'am. In the meanwhile, I'll contact her. We can just continue.
Yeah.
right, ma'am. Next up is Dr. Vijay Anand, Assistant Professor, Department of Business Administration, MTN College, Madurai, who will brief us with the concept of digital media's impact on print media. Sir, I believe that in some ways, the advancement of technology has made human population make the news documented and shared on digital media, and it have a negative impact on print media industry. So the average weekday circulation fell 7%, the most since 2010. But let's take Dr. Vijay Anand's stance on the same. So Dr. Vijay Anand, please, the space is all yours. Dr. Vijay Anand.
Ma'am, he's not there in the list of participants who have logged in. So I think he might have
Okay.
lost the connection because he was there previously.
Yeah, I also saw his name in the participants list.
Yeah, he was
So maybe
there.
it is because of some technical glitch.
Shalini ma'am has joined us. Shalini ma'am,
Okay,
Okay,
great.
you can just unmute
okay.
yourself.
So I again welcome Dr. Shalini Sharma, Associate Professor in English, GWC Parade, Jammu, and she is presenting her paper on the topic Technology for Teachers, a Boom. Uh, Sir, should we wait for some more moments?
I think we
Shalini
can
ma'am,
give her another minute. She may be setting
Shalini
herself.
ma'am is trying to say, I think there's some problem. Shalini ma'am, are
Okay.
you there? We are not able to hear you actually, even though she's unmuted also herself. But Devinder, can you please check out with the next participants?
Ma'am, should I call upon the name of the third participant? Because again, Dr. Vijay Anand is also not available.
Yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Now we have for this technical session Ms. Bhavna S, Assistant Professor and HOD, Department of Psychology, Suvarna College, and along with Ms. Bhavna, we have another participant with her, Subramanya SV, Assistant Professor, Department of BBA, again from Suvarna College. They will now bring forth their views on the topic, a comparative study of therapeutic therapists and special educators teaching aids. Please go forward, ma'am.
Yes, thank you so much for this opportunity, ma'am. We are really honored to be there present in this 3-day international conference. Myself, Bhavna, Assistant Professor and Head, Department of Psychology, Surana College, Bangalore. And I also welcome my colleague Subramanya V, Assistant Professor in Department BBA. So we have done our research paper in an interdisciplinary manner. So our research paper is basically on the topic a comparative study of therapeutic therapists and special educators teaching aid. I'll kindly share my screen so that I can uh, give my PPT.
Yes.
Is my screen shared, ma'am? Is it visible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am Bhavna, it's visible.
Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity, basically. So we all know in every classroom, teaching aids are an essential component, which helps learners develop reading comprehensive skills, demonstrate or reinforce an idea, and relieves anxiety by introducing knowledge in a fresh and exciting way. In every way, teaching aids are inexpensive and easy to create and can be improvised. The teaching aids are selected basically based on learners' mental abilities for its effectiveness. So when we thought of this idea, so we thought, why can't we think it in a very creative approach? So we thought of doing our research based on the teaching aids that is being used by a therapeutic practitioner and a special educator in the field. So there are quite different methodologies that we have applied in our present study. So a comparative study was made with the use of this. So when we speak about special educator is basically it is all about a special education which refers to individualized instruction, giving individual attention basically, and to different people who are especially having variety of physical and mental disabilities, learning delays, speech and language impairments, visual impairments, and other disabilities, which is addressed by these special educators. And what are the teaching aids that they are using in teaching process? Coming to therapists, these are the therapists who are professionals who have been trained to assist with the treatment of mental or physical health issues. Okay, so the therapist is a person who has been trained and qualified to practice psychotherapy, basically. So in the field of psychology, so there are different therapeutic aspects that are being involved in the teaching process, which we can use as a facilitators in facilitating a good teaching process to our students, which helps us in developing our teaching learning evaluation process. So in our uh, uh, sorry, is it visible?
It was visible, but it's not visible right now.
uh, okay.
And I would also request you to put it on full screen mode.
Okay.
Yeah. Now it's visible.
Okay. If I put it as full screen, it is not able to. I think it's
No,
not.
no issues. Whichever way you are comfortable, just go on.
Yes. So teaching aids. So what are teaching aids? Basically, we all know there are different types of teaching aids that we use, but depending upon the children's perception or the way of learning, we can use different types of teaching aids. It might be visual aids, it might be auditory aids, or auditory visual aids, or kinesthetic, which is read and write, etc. So there are different types of teaching aids that are used by different therapists as well as special educators. So when we were thinking about this, so we also stated our problem of the research as our teaching techniques influencing the learner's interests and ability to understand in both professional and psychological way. Nowadays, understanding children's in a psychological way is being a tougher challenge, because we need to also concentrate on more mental, cognitive, and psychological aspect of a child's way of thinking, and going towards child and helping them in what they are in need of is a very exclamatory mark, basically. So we should all be trained in such a way that we go in an individualistic perspective. So when we started with our project, we started to review few literatures which were actually helped us in our research process. Okay, so basically we found one study which was given in 2010. He said that special education teachers are prepared and they have to carry their process of teaching in four dimensions of four components, which is administrative, teaching, student assessment, and inclusive activities in the daily classrooms, because this helps the child to have an experiential learning more than having only a theoretical knowledge. So the other thesis which we also referred to also emphasized more on the holistic development of the children, and the third one also focused to have a process of experiential learning that we should imbibe to ourselves to give a child in a very broader perspective to increase their experiential learning. So when we, our type of research was descriptive in nature, and it was also a case study manner with an observation method which was adapted with also the help of verbal report that we took it from both therapists and the special educators, and our sample size was 25 therapists and 25 special educators with a convenient sampling. Because of the present situation, we couldn't collect much more samples. So coming to our objectives of our study was to identify the various teaching aids adapted for learners development in both the fields of teaching, to examine and determine the factors affecting the productivity of the teachers in both the areas, and to study the impact of learners overall development, and to assess and perceive the affective component of improvising their learning capacities. So with these objectives in mind, we prepared a questionnaire and also verbal report we collected in what kind of way the teaching process is being facilitated by both the therapist as well as the special educators. So we basically concentrated in our questionnaire with few concepts which are highly relevant to the present scenario, like cognitive abilities, mental abilities, communicative skills, personality related abilities, learning styles of a children, using teaching aids, art therapy, sand therapy, music therapy, holistic therapy, behavior therapy, play therapy. All these therapies were imbibed in our study, and we got to know that 100% of the therapists reported that experiential learning was a very effective part on the learner's development. So it was actually found out that 100% effectiveness was seen in learning capacities of the kids when compared to the normal teaching routine with the use of basic teaching aids. So we need to upgrade our skill set to go and teach our students in a very creative manner. And it was also found out that the hands-on integrative approach also played a very prominent role by using both the teaching aids, that is both traditional and modern teaching aids, which goes hand in hand, which is an integrative approach, which we call had a very prominent role to play, which resulted in learners' overall development. Not only that, but also 100% effectiveness we could find in the terms of normal kids too, by applying various therapeutic therapies in their learning styles. So we could get therapies to hands to the faculties, and we also had a faculty development program with our own college, and we could help them in understanding the children with their perspective, with their behavioral approach, and this played a very effective part. Especially 100% effectiveness was seen on the students' productivity as well. And expressive art therapy, which was resulted also in a 100% effective way that we could see. When we finally, when we were finding out the findings, we could analyze that there were the students were really happy with the observational learning, okay, with the reinforcement that was implemented on the children, and which had a greater impact on their self-efficacy building and their overall development, especially the holistic development. So giving a student a reward, particularly one that is social in nature, not only encourages them to keep doing what they are doing, but it also encourages others to do the same. Often when punishing students, teachers must ensure that the nature of punishment does not have a mental impact on the student, but rather allows them to reflect on their behavior. So this definitely had an 100% effective way that a therapist can use this reinforcement therapy in a positive way of teaching that we could imbibe in our teaching ways. And secondly, we could also see the DIE process, that is do it yourself process, which is an experiential learning. We encouraged our children to do it in a very experiential learning, and this also had a very positive impact on the child. And with the help of educational psychologists, we could also find with the more effective way and parent child interaction therapy, which was a mentor mentee format in our institution itself, had a 80% effective therapy, which is nothing but parent child interaction, that is what we call in a local term PTM. So psychology is the way that we live on, but we do have different therapies named under it. So this mentor mentee also had a 80% effective part on the child's overall development. And we also had this supportive therapy with the teaching, with the curriculum. We introduced few extracurricular activities so that the confidence level of a child would boost, and we could raise them in a very potential way, which helped a child in a holistic development. Last but not the least, training and certification of a teachers, that is yearly or quarterly or stage to stage upgradation, should also be there, because as we have this generation gaps, we being a teachers or a facilitators should also get updated ourselves to go to their individualistic level and train our children. So therefore, from our study we could observe all these things, and to conclude, from our present study, we could say that physically, mentally, and social well-beingness of a child is extremely important during their early years. All of this is in line with their brain and personality formation. So, understanding the psychology of children is difficult, but it is important for a parents and teachers to do it with the help of the special educators in the hand. So, I'm really sorry, my current went off. I would not be visible
No,
because of
no,
the flower fluctuations which is happening.
it's okay.
So
I suppose you are Bhavna.
yes, yes,
Oh,
definitely.
okay, Bhavna. It's a very
So
igniting and informative delivery. Although Subramanya, she did not participate in reciting or presenting the paper, but I could see, or I must appreciate how well you both have integrated parts of their forte, like psychology and BBA, in your paper. Truly appreciated, Bhavna
uh,
and Subramanya.
thank you so much, ma'am, for this opportunity that you people have given us. I think psychology really plays a very
I
important role
I
in a child's.
completely agree with your findings and your paper presentation. It was very well appreciated and informative. And the important part, mentor-mentee part, it's I think it's now running in all the organization we are working on this,
Yes,
and it's
yes,
playing an
yes,
important role.
yes,
Knowing
yes.
the child psychology through parents' point of view and from the students' point of view.
Definitely,
Thank
definitely.
you.
That would have really an impact. I think my colleague is here only. He just let me to speak and do this honor. And I
This
really
is
thank my
this
colleague.
is the understanding and mutual understanding.
Thank you so
Okay.
much for letting us do our presentation in this really a
Okay.
tough, challenging time. Thank you so much for
Thank
everyone
you,
and the
Bhavna.
organizer.
Thank you. Thank you, Bhavna. Now we have Purushottam Balaso Pawar, lecturer, Mechanical Engineering Department, SVPM's Institute of Technology and Engineering, Malegaon, PK, who is presenting on the topic Industry 4.0 and challenges in technical education. Sir,
Yes,
I
ma'am. I'm
welcome
here.
you. Yes, yes.
Please allow me to share my screen.
Yeah, please. Uh,
Ma'am, is
Dr.
my presentation visible?
Purushottam, yeah, it's visible. Professor Purushottam, I would only request you, I mean, it's a humble request that you focus on your objectives, aim, significance, and what is the outcome of your paper. So we'll be more
Yes, sure, ma'am. Sure.
concentrating on those points.
Yes, sure, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
So, good evening, all. Myself, Professor Purushottam Pawar. I'm going to present on Industry 4.0 and challenges in technical education. I'm basically from engineering background, and I'm teaching in a polytechnic for last 13 years. This is the overview which we are going to discuss in today's presentation. Initially, we will have some introduction to my topic. Then I have some current discussion on current status of the educational system in technical institutes. then some reforms which are needed according to the Industry 4.0 requirements, and lastly conclusion. If we currently see the syllabus or curriculum of most of the institutes, that it is designed according to the Industry 3.0 or third industrial revolution's requirements. If we uh, see the basic difference
Uh,
between the
Professor
industrial.
Purushottam, sorry to interrupt you in between. I suppose your voice is not clear. You are somewhere outside because there is noise with your
Yes, ma'am.
voice.
Actually, there is some problem with connectivity.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yes, yes, ma'am. There is some native place at village, so there is some problem of connectivity, ma'am.
Right.
Am I audible now, ma'am?
You were audible earlier also, Professor Purushottam, but the only thing was that your presentation was not clear because of the noise in the background.
Actually,
Now
the
you
ma'am,
may continue, Dr.
surrounding the
Purushottam.
wind is flowing
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
high
I
speed.
completely understand. You may
Okay, okay,
continue.
ma'am. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. So, if we basically discuss about the difference between the industrial revolutions in a presentation one given by one of the presenters, that third industrial revolution was mainly focused. It was introduced around 1970, and it came after the introduction of PLC and robotics in the industries. And still, curriculum we are currently teaching in the technical institutes or especially in engineering institutes, it is designed according to the third industrial revolutions. And we mainly still there is a concept that automation through robotics, that is the only advanced concept that the industry is following. But if we see the concept of fourth industrial revolution, it is automation of almost all the processes in the industry. And we need to modify our present curriculum, infrastructure, and everything in the system according to the Industry 4.0 requirements. Now, currently, unemployment among technical graduates is the one of the issue. Now recently, one report by American Society of Mechanical Engineers has also stated that currently employed engineers are not satisfied with the salary they are getting and job profile they are getting in the industry. Again, main reason behind this problem is that the skills we are developing in those graduates, those are not sufficient to fulfill the industry for the current technology. Now, what skills are required? We still our system focuses on the particular stream. Now, suppose I am from mechanical stream, so mechanical engineering curriculum or syllabus 100% focuses on the mechanical developing the skills related with the or according to the mechanical stream. But now industry requires that multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary skills to be developed among the fresh graduates. Means recently some of you have heard about the mechatronics, which is a combination of mechanical and electronics. So this means that even fresh graduates need equal knowledge of other streams also. And that is the reason that they are being not getting jobs as per their expectations. Now, technology associated with the Industry 4.0 is penetrating with the highest speed. If we see the previous versions of the industrial revolutions, first industrial revolutions, then second it was having more than 100 years of gap after 19 and 1920 around where second revolution happened, and 1970 the third revolution happened. The gap was near about 50 years. And firstly, concept of industrial 4.0 was introduced around 2013 in one process. Still in the stage of Industry 4.0. So if we count up developing period of industry, then this industrial 4.0 technology is penetrating with high speed, and industrialists or industry experts have predicted that near about 2025 almost factories, even the small scale units which are running in small industrial development areas will be running on the Industry 4.0 related technologies. So there is a need to implement these technologies in the curriculum so that the freshers coming out of the educational institutes in coming 1 or 2 in 2 or 3 years, not after 10 years or not 15 years, that coming in recent years will have skills which will be according to the industry 4.0 requirements. Now these two surveys I have shared only two results here. First result says that where analyze the factors which are affecting the employability. This survey, we have contacted few engineers working in the industry, few parents, few professors working in the engineering institutes. So what most of them have that students getting inputs at the school level, those inputs affect the mindset of the students mostly. Means even before 10 years, what expected from the student, like fresh engineering graduates or technical graduates, that they complete their course and after that they will have some job or some service in the industry. But now recent even the government is also promoting the policy of entrepreneurship, because what is happening here with the advancement in technology is that the manpower requirement industry is reducing. So these skill, the inputs which are giving to students at the school level, it affects the mindset, and we need to develop the entrepreneurial mindset in students right from its school level. If we see some models in education system, even our education system, so we are giving some projects to students, extra projects or projects, some micro projects related to their subjects they are learning in their curriculum. But what happened to this to outcome of that project? They prepare some model, then assessment is done, and then it is scrapped. But I have read some model here. Students are asked to prepare some project where they have to prepare one product, and after that they have to sell that product in the market. Right from this project, they are preparing at the school level. Means what happens due to this, that getting the practical knowledge of the entrepreneurship. And if we study the Indian education system, that many curriculum are there, that there is no entrepreneurial subject or there are entrepreneurial related topics in their curriculum. So this if we modify their content in the school level, it will help in developing the entrepreneurial abilities or entrepreneurial mindset in students. And another survey results, experts or are not accord. So the need to or need to change percent curriculum. But I'm just saying that at least we start it. There is a time that we start to currently practicing. In Indian government asked to all AICT, which is regulating authority, has asked almost all the institutes to get accredited. But most of the private institutes are against the accreditation policy. The reason behind this is there are a number of problems these institutes are facing. There is a decreasing enrollment ratio, and student fees or students only source of income with these institutes. So quality which we are getting or which we are expecting from these institutes, we are lacking in that quality. And current or current curricular stream, just like we have discussed that if I am from mechanical, most students, even the mindset of student or mindset of current teaching staff is that we are mainly focusing on the main subject or core subject related with our branch. We are not interdisciplinary. Or 4.0 technical and final year students regular for final and pre graduates coming in next at least 2 or 3 years will get industry exposure to industry 4.0 technologies. Because what happens when we are we're going to change the curriculum, what we get 2 to 3 years for designing the curriculum, moderate it and start implementing it. After almost 7 to 8 years, graduate first batch the new, and within that period, the technology has changed drastically. At least apart from or other than the teaching hours, we are teaching conventional curriculum. Extra hours should be invested in teaching the new courses related with the industry 4.0 requirements. And even such courses like AICT, which is a regulating body, can offer on platforms like SWAYAM or NPTEL. These are MOOC platforms which are used all over the country, so that in large quantity, even students and teaching staff can get benefited. And for students changing this system, first we need teachers who are teaching in such institutes, because even if we see the current recruitment policy, we are directly recruiting even the fresh graduates are being recruited as a professor in some institutes. So even they are not aware with the what is happening in the industry or what industry requires. So first of all, we
The fourth industrial revolution surely has enormous positive implications for the country's education
yes, ma'am.
system according to the 21st century learning, but it may also contribute to poverty and hunger, pertaining to income and social
Yes,
inequalities in today's developing India. And Professor
right.
Purushottam, you have very wonderfully displayed your analysis and your deep study on this. So I congratulate you and very well efforts.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Dr. Purushottam. Okay. Uh,
Yes, ma'am. Actually, even I am not getting voice clearly.
yes, we all can completely understand, Dr. Purushottam. So, but we got the idea from your paper, so it's well collated and it's very analytic. So, I really appreciate your efforts.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Now, before I move to the last candidate, I would also like to call upon Dr. Shalini once again. Dr. Shalini Sharma, are you there in the meeting? Dr. Shalini Sharma? Yes, Dr. Shalini Sharma, are you there? Okay,
And not there in the list.
sorry.
She
Okay,
is not
she's
there
not
in the
there.
list.
One more candidate we have missed, Dr. Vijay Anand, Assistant Professor, Department of Business Administration. Can I have the confirmation for this candidate as well? Is he here in the meeting? No?
No, ma'am, he is not there.
Okay, okay. Nevertheless, so we have our last but not the least candidate for this technical session, Dr. Rajiv Vashisht, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, Rajdhani College, University of Delhi, will speak over new education policy and its impact on the Indian education system.
Thank you, madam. Thank you,
Yes.
madam. And good evening, all. So, as just madam said that my topic is on new education policy. So, madam, it is a theoretical paper. It is on national education policy, and I have made an attempt through this paper. I have made an attempt to highlight the important features of the new education policy and how it is likely to impact on the Indian education system. So, a brief summary of the abstract. Madam, education is fundamental to the development of human capital and a nation. So it is prerequisite to provide quality educational opportunities to the young generation because of their predominance in the development of the country. So there was a need for the robust Indian education policy, which will complement the educational requirements of the 21st century. And this policy has undertaken reforms ranging from childhood education to higher education. Then it also focuses on adult education, then teacher training and development, regulation and governance. So we can say that this policy has been contextualized upon five fundamental pillars. So the basis, it is based on five fundamental pillars, and they are equity, then there is accountability, then access to education, then quality should be ensured, and then the last one is the affordability in calibration with the SDG 4. So this SDG 4 is the Sustainable Development Goal 4 as specified by the United Nations. So, the paper focuses on the alignment of new education policy with the United Nations SDG 4 and answers the question of how NEP 2020 is going to change the education system in India through a discussion of some major interventions and challenges in the implementation of new education policy 2020. A brief introduction. So India has a large young population, so therefore the education policy must cater to the needs of this section of the population. So that's why there was a need to bring about this new education policy. And so there is a its need was required to provide quality educational opportunities to this young generation because of its prominence in the development of the country. So now next is alignment of national education policy 2020 with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 4 of quality education. So madam, a brief reading. India adopted Sustainable Development Goals as a part of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The fourth goal among the 17 Sustainable Development Goals is to assure equitable and inclusive education and lifelong learning opportunities for all by the year 2030. To attain this goal of quality education, United Nations specified 10 targets which constitute prominently access to primary and secondary education, elimination of discrimination, and sustainable development, etc. So this NEP is primarily based on the Sustainable Development Goal number 4 of United Nations, which is predominantly based on the providing the quality education to all. So, madam, what are these targets individually? So, first target is focus on primary and secondary education. Okay. Second is focus on providing access to elementary education. So, besides elementary education is required, besides technical education and higher education, elementary education is must. Then there is a focus on providing vocational, technical, and higher education. So, more importance is given to vocational training and skill development in this NEP rather than providing only the degree-based courses. The focus is on making them job ready, the Indian youth. Right? Then next is focus on enhancing the skills amongst you, young and adults. Okay, as we discussed earlier. So the focus is on skills development. Then focus on the elimination of discrimination. So discrimination between rich and poor, between the privileged and unprivileged, between the haves and have-nots. So this policy attempts to remove that difference to a large extent. Then focus on universal numeracy and literacy skills. So the skills must be applied universally. It can be the applications of the skills. They should be capable of being applied any part of the world. It is not that the education that what we get is useful in this part of the world and it is redundant in other part of the world. It should not be there. The next is focus on sustainable development and global citizenship. So this also makes the education global, that it should be recognized worldwide, and sustainable development. The education should be able to develop the personality of the student, and it should be a continuous process. It should not end after a certain level. Then focus on providing an inclusive school environment. So inclusive school environment means not only on academic parameters, but the focus should be on development of the overall personality of the student, which includes their debating skills, sports skills, and also interactive skills, etc. Then focus on expanding higher education scholarships. So scholarships must be given to the needy and poor students of the society. Then last in 10th target is focus on increasing the supply of quality teachers, because it is also very important to provide quality teachers, because if the teachers are competent, only then they will be able to provide the good education to the children. Then madam, next slide. Major interventions brought by new education policy 2020. So I am reading the main interventions quickly. So first is one of the major interventions brought under NEP 2020 is that the name of the Ministry of HRD has been altered to Ministry of Education. So now the HRD ministry has been renamed as the Ministry of Education. The second is one single regulator will be there. So now the UGC as well as the AICTE, they will be dismantled, and one single regulator will now be framed that will cater to the needs of all the courses and other educational requirements. Uh, let me clear it. I missed it. That legal and medical profession will be continued to be regulated through their present regulators, that is the Bar Council as well as the Medical Council of India. Then third one is special education zones have been promulgated to provide quality education to disadvantaged regions of India. So this policy will has also identified some disadvantaged regions of India which need special attention as regards the education is concerned. Then next fourth one is National Research Foundation has been provisioned for the promotion of research and innovation in higher education in India. So the NEP also gives more attention and importance to the development of research activities in the higher education institutes in India. And fifth one is the policy provision, the integration of technology in education with the objective of access of disadvantaged groups, teacher preparation and development, improved teaching learning processes and assessment. The National Educational Technology Forum is promulgated for the exchange of ideas among the higher education institutions. So now, as we see that the technology is being increasingly used in the teaching learning process, and its use is likely to be increased and encouraged also in the time to come. So it is good for the students also and for the teachers also to learn the new technology in teaching and learning process. Then madam, sixth point is the 10+2 pedagogical and curricular structure has been transformed into a new 5+3+3+4 pedagogical and curricular structure corresponding to diverse age groups. So the structure has been restructured. Now the 10+2 has been changed to 5+3+3+4, and providing opportunities to the students. They can exit after some time if they are not able to continue their studies, and they can rejoin whenever they are able to continue their studies. This structure has been restructured. Then seventh is a 360-degree holistic performance card for students is provision that will improve the learning outcomes and will reflect the life skills achieved by students. Further, the target of 100% gross enrollment ratio by 2030 in preschool to secondary level education has been set. So now a 360-degree holistic performance card has been framed, and it means that the performance of the student should not be judged only by their academic performance. Rather, they should be judged on the basis of many parameters such as their skill competencies, their attitudes, values, how they are able to transform their competencies, how well they can learn new competencies, etc. So it is a broad objective. It is a broad parameters are provided in this policy. And also the enrollment ratio, 100% enrollment ratio is also the target of this policy. It also attempts to ensure the 100% gross enrollment ratio. So it will be very good for the country. This can be achieved. And madam, next top 100.
Dr. Rajiv, could you please come to the conclusion of your presentation? Yes.
Only 2 minutes are left. This is
Okay. Then take your time.
just 2 minutes more. So the world's top 100 universities will be allowed to establish and operate their campuses in the country. So the education system is now being open to the global partners also, global players also. The foreign universities will be invited, and they can also run their campuses in the country. It is good because it will generate competition in the education sector. The 90th Single Test Agency has been given the responsibility to conduct entrance exams for admission to the higher education institutions. So this agency will conduct entrance exams for undergraduate, for other entrance exams, be it IIT or be it other higher level exams. Then an academic bank of credits will be created for students' academic credit transfers within a specified period. So we are having a course of credit-based CBCS, choice-based credit system, in which the students they earn credits, and these credits they can accumulate these credits, and these credits can be used elsewhere. They can take these credits elsewhere while doing other courses also. Then multidisciplinary education and research universities as world-level preeminent institutions will be established to provide a multidisciplinary and well-rounded education to the students around the country. For instance, with the assistance of major and minor subjects, an engineer can receive formal education in arts also. So this is a major intervention or feature of this policy, that even a science student who has an interest in any art subject can study arts subject also. An engineer can study the English literature, can study the history also, because it is very much possible that a science student has an aptitude to and has an interest to study the history of the country. So this policy also allows it. And last one is public investment has been raised to 6% of the total GDP for education to achieve the interventions brought by the policy. So the budget allocation has also been raised to 6% of the total GDP, so that the outcomes and the aims and targets of this new education policy can be easily achieved. So, madam, last I come to the conclusion. So it is an appropriate action for transformation of education system in India, and it will help India to become a knowledge superpower at the global level through constructive engagement by the youth. But to make this policy successful, the cooperation and the active participation of all the stakeholders is required. It is not that the government can ensure the success of this policy. So all the stakeholders, that is government, policy makers, the management, the educators, the academicians also, and students. So all they have to come together and work hard to achieve the targets which are specified in this policy. But the last one is conclusion. So conclusively, we can say that successful implementation of the policy will not only help in transforming the education system, but also it will help in achieving the targets of the mega initiatives of the government of India, like the Make in India scheme, the Digital India scheme, the Study in India, the Skill India, Self-Reliant India, and Startup India. So the success of all these schemes to a large extent depend upon the education system in the country. So overall, we can say that the new policy makes a potent contribution to the rehabilitation of the education system of India. Thank you very much for the invite.
Thank you, Dr. Rajiv. The topic is actually very important one, as it is not only describes the present day situation of education in the country, but it also determines the dynamics of the future prospects in education.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have elucidated it very well, and very careful analysis you have done on the new education policy 2020.
Thank you
I
very much.
congratulate you on your presentation.
Thank you
So it
very much.
was a wonderful presentation, Dr. Rajiv.
Thank you very much.
Uh, Now I would like to ask the coordinators, Dr. Abhimanyu. If I'm not wrong, Dr. Rajiv was the last participant.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so in the end, I would like to address it as a matter of fact that all the speakers, although all the speakers were not available, but whosoever presented the paper, it was a high level of analysis and knowledge in their writings. So I'm very thankful to the authorities, especially Dr. Rijin, Dr. Shubhra Jambal, Dr. Abhimanyu, for giving me such a great opportunity amidst such learned speakers. So I hence declare the session closed. Thank you very much. It was always a pleasure to get associated with Cape Comorin Trust and with Dr. Abhimanyu, Dr. Shubhra, Dr. Rijin. It's always a pleasure.
Thank
So
you
all
so much.
the
Thank you so
You
much,
joined
ma'am.
us on very short notice. That's so sweet of you. Thank you
okay,
so much.
thank
And
you,
you
ma'am.
shared your session so well. Thank you and congratulations to you and
Thank,
all the
Thank you.
paper presenters.
thank you,
Yes.
ma'am. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.